Audience. It is Friday, June 21st, and we're all getting a little bit warmer. And some would say, oh my gosh, it's the climate. No, it isn't. You know what? You have warm times. It's called weather. Anyway, it's a beautiful day out there. It is warm. It's nice. And, you know, go outside and enjoy it. Enjoy it. And I highly recommend you do that this weekend as well. Well, listen, the news keeps on going. And so I wanted to talk about a few things tonight about voting. And because we have elections coming up in November, we've just had the primary here in Oregon, and others are still having their primary. I don't know when the last one is. That's not something I've put on my own radar. But Portland is using ranked choice voting. And that is going to be measure 17, I think. Is that measure set? No. Ranked choice voting is going to be on our ballot. And we don't want to support that. And a real good way of looking at it is this article in the Willamette Week on how many candidates can you rank in Portland's ranked choice voting. And it is up to 6. This is Portland's new voting system. So right now, they didn't have a primary for city council. And that's going to be decided in November. And and they're saying you get to vote for 6. You choose 6 candidates. And this is a good thing to talk about because this is what the left would love. There's a huge nationwide push on ranked choice voting, trying to get state. They go, oh yeah, these other states have it. We ought to have it too. You know what? No, we shouldn't. It should be one vote, one choice, and the majority wins. This is not the case because it could be that maybe only 25% of the vote is going to go to the winner. And it's a system that we don't want. There's lots I still can learn about this, but I thought I would hit some of the things in this article that they have to choose in Portland 12 city councilors, and they have to rank them so then they have to choose them by ranked choice voting. And so then it says here, third, we have to get comfortable with the idea that 3 candidates will win a seat in each of 4 districts, and more than 25% of the vote is enough to secure one of the 3 seats. So you can win with 25% of the vote. Well, that's not how it ought to be. It should be whoever gets the most votes. That's what our system is right now. And but this is Portland decided, wonderful Portland, decided to change up how their voting system is. And they're saying, oh, this captures voter sentiment. You know what? That's what majority does. The majority captures voter sentiment, not just 25% of the people getting to choose. That a person will win with just 25% of the vote. And so I like this analogy. If your vote were an orange, the regular voting systems would squish it once and take whatever juice came out. But ranked choice voting puts the orange in a fancy juicer and tries to get every last drop. And so they do this by you choose 1, you choose 4 or 6, and if your first person choice doesn't get the majority, then that person is out, and their votes get all redistributed to the next. And so in this article, it's looking like You can choose 6, like donuts, okay, ranking them in order of preference. And this, it says, so they have also a mock ballot on here. I wish I could show this to you. I'm sorry that I can't. And so it's instead of one person winning the majority, a candidate would be eliminated because of they didn't get enough. So they could get eliminated, and their votes get distributed down and down. And it could be the last person that you chose, number 6, ends up winning the vote. And so this is something that I think people need to educate themselves on, do research on ranked choice voting. And so they're saying, can I choose just one? Yes. But here in this article from the Willamette Week, it says, absolutely, but you're robbing yourself of the extra democracy that ranked choice voting promises. And so if you fill in just one and then you turn on a program and you're done for the day, then if your candidate loses, your ballot is totally out and none of your preference for another candidate was expressed. So I'm just telling you what the story says. But if you choose somebody else as a second place, then your vote would go to the second place person. And the second place person might just win. So this is how it is. Or your third choice might, or your fourth choice might. This is sort of like shooting the lottery, quite frankly. And I don't know. It's in my viewpoint, it's not a way of how we have done things. It's always been over majority, and the majority of the voters that vote for a particular candidate, that's who wins. And so I would say do some research, check it out. It's not what we want. And so speaking of voting, there is a ballot measure that's petition 17 that's coming up on the ballot. We talked about that on Wednesday. And in the Oregon Catalyst, they have some more detail on, well, actually, I kind of covered that a bit, but on the 3% of the ballot measure. And so they have verified I do believe it's been verified now, and it's going to really increase the corporate minimum tax on corporations. That translates to costing all of us more money. And this is universal basic income. They want to pay every single person $750 a year for anybody who has lived in Oregon for more than 200 days. And if you didn't know, Governor Tina Kotek, our current governor, has started a pilot program that gives out free $1,000, probably a card, to homeless young people on a monthly basis. So this is trying to push more of the universal basic income here at the cost of a tax on a business to fund it. But don't forget, any tax, it affects all of us. And so I vote no on the tax. No, thank you. I don't think the business needs that. And here in Oregon, we still have record revenue that comes in, which is why the people are going to be getting a kicker back. And it's not that we have a funding shortage. We have a spending problem. We have an absolute spending problem in our government here in Oregon. And I can tell you it's on every level. It's what they choose to spend it on. And so they want to subsidize the homeless. So what does it do? It just brings more homeless here. And so much so that then on the national level, the homelessness has increased 0.3%. 0.3%. But yet in Oregon, it has increased 22%. Now, we already give a lot of free stuff out to the homeless. So much so, we gave out 22,000 free tents, 5.5 million free needles in a year, 69,000 free tarps, 55,000 crack pipes, 90,000 crack foils, free clothes, free cigarettes, $500 debt cards, free phones, subsidized pot, free junk food, and free chapstick. And when you build it like that, they will come. So with our Measure 110 debacle that they're trying to kind of undo and grab back, although some counties and cities are trying to just kind of keep it the way it is, be careful what you build, because what you build, they will come. And that is one of them. And in so much so that in an interesting story that I found had to do with the DA-elect of Multnomah County. And the Multnomah County right now is looking to, the criminal decriminalization or the recriminalization of Measure 110 is going to roll back in September. And counties can instead develop programs to help drug users avoid jail time. But guess what? The DA-elect Nathan Vasquez is critical of the Multnomah County's revolving door plan for drug deflection, and they don't want him to have a seat at the table as they are meeting to, as the county is meeting to come up with their plan of what they want to do. And it's really, really sad that the citizens of Portland clearly said, we're done with you, Mike Schmitz, the current DA. We're done with you. And have elected a new district attorney. He's not in office yet. And yet they're not bringing him to have a seat at the table. And it's really sad. And so he said that the county leaders are busy building a system with little accountability, a process from which he's been entirely excluded. And that's not right. If you want what's best for the citizens, you bring in who has been elected, like them or not. You bring them in. And so instead, they are they're trying to make policy, and that is not necessarily going to be what's in the best interest for the citizens of Portland and Multnomah County. So I tell you, you all should be involved in that and have a voice in that. So, elections all have consequences. Some are good and some are bad. And here in Oregon, we have, unfortunately, a lot of bad. Also, today, ballot measure 110, troubling news. Earlier in the week, and today, was right now talking about Multnomah County is planning to implement reforms to Measure 110 that do not require or even incentivize drug treatment. And so in the past 48 hours, they've been kicked back into gear to generate media attention and raise awareness about this failure of the leadership. So caught with street drugs in Multnomah County, post Measure 110 plan will offer drop-off center or arrest. The DA-elect has not been allowed into the negotiations. And Multnomah County commissioners criticize the revised Measure 110 for lack of treatment requirements. And so there's a letter from Max to Multnomah County Chair Peterson and DA Mike Schmidt and Mayor Wheeler, urging them to revisit the course they're on. County Commissioner Julia Brim Edwards and DA-elect Vasquez are speaking out and offering strong leadership where it's needed. And so if you're living over there in Multnomah County, I'll tell you, you better suit up, show up, and speak up and pay attention to what's going on. This is, and I would encourage all counties to, it's paying attention to what they're doing in your county regarding Measure 110. And part of the problem with the whole mess of it is here in Oregon in 2023, $500 million was spent on 20,000 homeless people. Okay, $500 million is 500 million. 500 million is $500 million. And they spent roughly 531 million on homeless programs. Like I said, if you build it, they will come. And I already named all the stuff they gave away, right? Well, Multnomah has seen a homeless increase, while Clackamas and Washington counties have seen a decrease. Interesting. Multnomah County, that actually, what this represents is about $27,000 of taxpayer-paid services and goods for every homeless person in the Portland metro area. Don't you think that should have gone to, I'm not against helping homeless people, but giving them crack pipes, giving them tents, this is not how you get people help. It truly isn't. It's a mental health, it's an addiction and a mental health issue. And the drugs are just a part of it. And it needs to be dealt with in a different fashion. But I'll tell you, a lot of the NGOs, let me tell you, they're just getting fat. Oh yeah, we're going to help the homeless. Let's see your plan and let's see how it is working. We want to see the program and the plan and then show some results. Well, when you see in Oregon, 22% increase of homelessness, that is not results. It's just not results. Like I said, be careful what you build, because it's not going to be good. Listen, there is a little more. Oregon, as you know, has had a lot of problems with their unemployment department and trying to get people paid. Well, right now, most unemployed Oregonians are now waiting more than 3 weeks to get paid benefits because they're switching. This is since switching to a new online system. And Oregon ranks among the worst states in the country at giving first-time payments to unemployed workers per federal data. So the state can't lie about it. And this is per federal data. Well, let me tell you, let's see, if it only takes 3 weeks, that is so far better than 6 months. Because when the COVID debacle happened and the pandemic, that's what it was taking. Some did not get a check for 6 months. And it was awful, just awful. So this isn't good. Only 40.6% of unemployed workers have received their benefits within 3 weeks since April 1st, according to the Department of Labor. So less than 50%, just over 40%. That's not acceptable. And that ranks Oregon as the third worst state nationally. Our systems just don't work. It's sad, it's by design, I feel. When you hire people for what they might look like, or their race, or what language they speak, or what gender they wishing they could be, instead of people that can know how to do a job and on their merit. This is what you get. This is what you get. And it's a shame, because people that have lost their job, been laid off, or whatever, they need the help. They need their money. And this is why, our unemployment is not a way of life. It is to help you. It's a temporary help to give you a hand up, keep you afloat, hopefully keep you from being homeless. And it's just not good. So apparently they changed this over in March 4th, and it was, it wasn't good then, and it isn't good now. Things have not gotten better, and that is so sad for Oregon. So sad. Well, you've heard some of the Supreme Court today. Well, one of the big ones is that the Supreme Court is upholding a ban on guns for people under domestic restraining order. Now, what I have heard, I have not read. I've read this article in Epic Times, but what I've heard is it is temporary. So let's say you have a restraining order, a domestic restraining order, temporarily while it's in play, I'm assuming, then you would not be able to have any of your guns. And this was an 8-1 decision. 8-1 that came out today. And so Chief Justice Roberts wrote the court's majority opinion, and the lone dissenter was Justice Clarence Thomas. And I believe that I think Clarence Thomas is following the Constitution more than the others. But that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion. We all are entitled to our opinions, what we think and how we think. It's okay. And because I believe that our Constitution says our rights shall not be infringed. And this is an infringement. But yet I can see both sides. I can see a person that if you are, and it happens to men and to women, and if a person is so unhinged that you now want to go beat up another person, and this is all you're thinking about, and that you have to have a restraining order, I think you're a little unhinged. And, one of the things it says is it's decided by the court. So this does not affect red flag laws. Like here in Oregon, a red flag law is not a decision by the court. So that could be, and I could see that would challenge, a red flag law could challenge this if a sheriff in a county so chose to say, well, you've got a restraining order, or you don't, but a red flag law, that it could be part of that. I don't know. I don't know. I only know what I think. And I can see both sides. But our Constitution is clear, and we need to follow the Constitution. And in reading this, in reading this article, you see both sides, and it's, I can see both sides. That somebody unhinged shouldn't have one. But then again, let's see, we're not taking away a knife, right? We're taking away guns. We're not taking away a knife. They could still use a knife. They could still use a machete. They could still use an axe, a hatchet, a hammer. So because of that, that's not, I don't agree with this decision. That's me. It's okay. I don't have to agree. As I said, we're all entitled to our opinion, because taking a gun away will not stop a person that is unhinged. It's like, well, you can't drive your car either. You know, people, there was somebody, a woman just got killed, I saw on the news yesterday. The guy, it was an illegal, I think that one was an illegal, was arrested. And, you know, they had the tire marks on her, and she didn't survive getting run over. Anything can be turned into a weapon. And so I don't agree, because this is about a gun, and yet anything could be used as a weapon with the restraining order, you know, for somebody who's unhinged. So I disagree. I think it is our constitutional right that you have the ability. Shall not be infringed does mean shall not be infringed. And there's a lot of argument there. I'm not a lawyer, but it is my opinion. Take it or leave it. Another one is from the Supreme Court, is that it holds in a 6-3 decision that certain visa decisions cannot be challenged. And frankly, I like this decision. And because this case is about a person who's married, and it's very interesting that Biden did his executive order right after Biden unveiled his policy that allows immigrant spouses of American citizens to apply for permanent resident status without leaving the United States. Because what happened was people needed to, so I'm guessing that the Biden administration was leaked this decision, and that's why he did what he did. And so if a person is married to a citizen, and the consular, you know, they would, as it was, you would have to leave the United States, go to your country, and go to the consulate there, and have a hearing. They would do an interview. This is how my sister-in-law got here. This is how my uncle-in-law got here. One from Costa Rica, one from Peru. And you go to your consulate in your country, and they do an interview of you, and they ask you questions and whatnot. And they look into your background, and they make the decision to whether to grant you the visa or not to grant you the visa. And so it is saying that just because you're married to a U.S. citizen doesn't mean that you automatically get one. And quite frankly, I think that's the way it should be. People need to be vetted that are coming into our country. And some people, the answer is no. And this case is because a fellow, his answer was no. And the consulate decided that he was probably a member of a gang. And the spouse says, but wait a minute, he's my spouse. Well, you know what? Just because that's who you married, you know, doesn't mean that they get to come in. And so I don't know how this decision will be upheld against what our imposter in chief has just done with his executive order. I don't know. And the good news is executive orders can all be undone, and you get the right person in that's willing to do it. So it was an interesting decision, being a that it was a 6-3 decision. It was not unanimous. And it was Justice it was the dissension the dissension was by Sotomayor, Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, of course. And Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the decision. And I think we'll see, because I don't know, in this article, having read that, people still have to go to a hearing, right? And this is where so they're saying that certain visa decisions can't be challenged. The issue was consular non-reviewability. Well, if you're here in the United States, you are not necessarily at a consulate in another nation. So I don't know if it's going to be because whatever the consul's official decision is, it can't be fought in court. That's what this says. Okay, that's the one that cannot be fought in court. So, but first you have to get the person here. Well, right now, Biden just said, oh my gosh, if you're married to an American, then you can, and you're from a foreign country, you can just get your permanent visa to stay here. We'll see how that is. I don't know. And we'll see. We'll see how that is. I think people do definitely need to be vetted. Absolutely. I have a funny story for you tonight. I think it's funny. We need a little bit of funny and a little bit of humor. And well, before I go to that, the Democrat owner of the original Obama Hope picture is now backing Trump. Isn't that a good news story? People are saying, you know what, I'm changing. I'm changing my vote. And this is a good thing. And her name is Allison Hune, and is a former Democrat fundraiser and donor whose efforts pumped millions into the party. And she is now a Trump supporter. She said on Fox News that Biden has been asleep at the wheel. And Hune and her ex-husband, who's a Google programmer, were true believers of the Obama vision and raised stacks of cash. And so they're changing party, and that's good news. And it's happening all over in so many all over, so many demographics. Doesn't matter what you do. Look, go to the grocery store. Buy $100 worth of groceries and see how many bags you fill up. It's not much. It's not much. Then this other good, funny story that I have is Judge Judy unloads on Alvin Bragg for trying Trump over nonsense instead of keeping criminals on the street. And you know what? I have watched Judge Judy long time ago, occasionally every now and then, Judge Judy Shenlin. And so today she harshly criticized Manhattan DA for prosecuting former President Donald Trump over what she considers nonsense. And, you just have to watch this. She lives in New York. This is where she is. She said, quote, "I would be happier as someone who owns property in Manhattan if the district attorney of New York County would take care of criminals who were making it impossible for citizens to walk in the streets and use the subway, to use his efforts to keep those people off the street than to spend $5 million or $10 million of taxpayers' money trying Donald Trump on this nonsense," end quote. She said, quote, "That's my view, But I, as a taxpayer in this country, resent using the system for your own personal self and aggrandizement. And end quote. And I'll tell you, and yesterday, Bragg's office dropped the charges against most of the protesters arrested for occupying several campus buildings and participating in an encampment at Columbia University in April. He downgraded 52% of felonies to misdemeanors. And this is all by design. It's absolutely by design, and it's awful. So good for you, Judge Judy. Thanks for speaking up. And she's a judge. She's a real judge. And she doesn't take any guff. She reads people pretty well. She doesn't take any guff. And I'm glad that she's spoke up, especially she's a person that lives there. This is that, he's representing her, right? He's supposed to be representing the citizens there. Well, that's it. Have a great weekend. You know what to do. Share this around, and we'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sunshine. Get out, unplug from the electronics. Get out, have some fun. There's a lot going on all over Oregon. So I just wish you all